Good morning. Welcome to the July 17th meeting of the Environmental Resource Committee. Pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have a quorum, so we can begin. First order of business is the draft agenda. Does anyone have any amendments, or do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. There are no meetings from last month's, or no minutes from last month's meeting, so we'll look at those next month. We'll open the floor to any public comments on the agenda. No public comments? Okay, so we'll move on to old business. First item on old business are the open positions update. There are 4 positions open on the ERC right now. Two of those positions are held by Steve and Mila, whose prior appointments had expired, and the other 2 are open because of people that are no longer around to be part of the committee. All the people but one have been, all the candidates, all the people that have shown interest in those open positions have been interviewed, except one person that I understand had their interview delayed because they came down with COVID. So as soon as those interviews are done, we can expect the council to appoint the new members at the August council meeting. The next item of business is the update on Sunset at Sunset. Amy, can you update us on what we need to know about that?
Hello. I think we had decided at the last meeting that the ERC would share a tent next to the town tent. So you will be right up at the front. I'm going to provide the tents, the tables, the chairs, the tablecloths. So you will only need to bring whatever you would like to distribute at
we'll have
Sunset.
We'll have one tent for ourselves, and then we'll share another tent with the town.
And then the other tent will be the town's.
Right.
Yes.
Great.
Yeah.
That'll work.
But you'll be right next to us, and we'll be selling the t-shirts and things out of the tent, and then you'll be next to us. So you'll have a high traffic area, although I think most of it's a high traffic area at Sunset.
Yeah. Anyway. Does anyone have questions for Amy?
Just thank you.
Absolutely.
Well,
Having done this without you, we are really thankful.
Absolutely. Thanks.
When we get the new members, August, the new members won't be, they'll be at the August meeting. So
They'll be sworn in. And we have till October. What is the date again?
It's the first Saturday in October, the 5th, and the time's from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m.
what do you need from us?
Currently, I don't need anything from you. I will just need to know if there's things that you want me to copy or reproduce so that you have them to distribute, or if there's a giveaway that you wanted to give away that needs to be ordered. I would need to know about that sooner than later, just because I know as it gets closer, I'll be getting busier and busier. So
Okay.
the more timeline I have, the better.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Moving on to new business. The first item is the National Wildlife Federation Certified Wildlife Habitat discussion. There was a news article recently about the town of St. James, where the the town, people in the town had individually certified their property as certified wildlife habitats with the National Wildlife Federation. I did that in Maryland. It's not a difficult thing to do, and I think most people that put up bird feeders and bird baths and are try to attract and take care of wildlife in their yard very easily qualify to be certified as a wildlife habitat. And if 150 people in town are certified, then the town gets the certification as a certified wildlife habitat. And Councilman Mike Hargrave brought this to our attention and asked us to look at it and talk about it. Is there any discussion about this?
Well, I think it'd be something that'd be very easy to do if enough people were interested in doing it themselves.
And you're right, it's not that hard to add the things to your landscape that are required to be certified. And I can remember doing it back in the 80s and at our house in Ohio in the 90s.
Does the fact that we're a bird sanctuary island qualifies already as a wildlife habitat?
I think they are closely related, but I don't think qualifying for one qualifies you for the other. But I think this is something we need to look at and figure out how we want to approach doing it. But I even brought the sign that I had in my yard from Maryland down here to put it in my yard in Sunset Beach, but I lost it when we moved. So it's not hard to do, and it's a good thing to do.
It's really going to be up to individual homeowners to get certified, so that would help the town become certified.
Mm-hmm.
So I think with us, it would just be a matter of, I don't know, maybe pushing this a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I was telling John that it's probably maybe through just before the first Arbor Day, the Green Committee. Well, no, it's because we didn't do Green Committee then. So whenever Green Committee was first formed, we had looked at how do we encourage our neighbors to, improve the supportive parts of our environment to wildlife and insect life. And we discussed homegrown national parks and the National Wildlife Federation. And at the time, we just didn't have the resources. We were so restricted because we were smaller. Our group was only five people, so it was only 2 people in green. And we had the literature to do the homegrown national parks, so we had promoted that. But I don't think, I'm with you, I don't think it would be that hard to get this information together and get people interested. And as we get our new people in and reconfigure the committees, we could take a look at that.
I agree. There's another program similar to that. The state of New Hampshire has a program they call a Lake Smart program. And this is a program that provides consultation to property owners around lakes. It would be around the Twin Lakes. It would be around the ponds on the golf courses. It would be anywhere there's a retention pond in town. This is a program that tells people how to build filter strips in their yard to keep runoff from the yard from adversely impacting the ponds. And if you go through the consultation program and you quote unquote graduate, you get a certificate and a sign that you are a member of the Lake Smart program. But I think it would be very good, and I would put this in the same category as a wildlife habitat. That when we get our new members, and um, we can figure out how we want to approach doing this.
Yeah, and you've got two audiences there, because there are a lot of people who they're not in an area where they're going to build that strip. There's still things they can do that they need to know about the chemicals they're using and so on, and where their water runoff goes. But for those people that aren't directly, or more closely connected to a waterfront, the wildlife program is still very possible. But you're right. Well, let's look at, and when we have our new members, we can.
Well, can we at
Move
least
forward.
plan on trying to get some information to the public at Sunset and Sunset?
Why don't I do this? Let me see what I can get together for the National Wildlife, the Wildlife Habitat Program, and bring it to the August meeting, and we can take a look. And then if we're like, hey, let's hand this stuff out, we can ask Amy to help us get that ready.
Yeah, I think Steve, you both have good points, but putting together information that we could pass out to people at Sunset
Mhm.
at Sunset would be a great,
Mhm.
great way to communicate it in the community. Good ideas. Anything else? All right. The next is to move into subcommittee discussions. The climate subcommittee. Alan, would you run the slideshow? I put together a slideshow quick. This is a little different than we usually do. The drone that usually takes our pictures had an unfortunate crash, so it's out of service. But yesterday we had a phone call with the engineering firm, Coastal Protection Engineering, to talk about the Palm Cove project of realigning Jinks Creek. And after that meeting, I started thinking about well, we ended the meeting talking about the king tides that are coming up later on this year. And I started thinking about just trying to educate people on what a king tide really means and does. So I went back and got some old photographs. This is from September of last year. And this is what it looks like, as what the inlet looked like at that time, with the water coming in off the up Tubbs Inlet and around Jinks Creek. And this is what it is during most of the time. That spit that goes up off the end of Sunset Beach is normally out of the water. But this is what that spit looks like during a king tide. The tides are high enough that they wash right over the spit. So that this piece of land here is totally covered in water. And with the wind and the tide, that washes the water over the sand, which washes the sand into the Jinks Creek. And that's why we've seen such a buildup of sand in that area behind Sunset Beach. This area down here is the only part of the island that's still above water. Here you see the vegetation that's out at the east end of Sunset Beach. You can see a little bit more of the spit under the water. But in September and October of last year, there were a number of king tides that really made a difference in the amount of sand that we saw in Jinks Creek. And here we are, in a month later, the water's not quite as high. At this point, the tide was 6 feet. So 6 feet of tidal flow will get you over the spit. Now, it does a lot more than flood the area behind the island here. It brings a lot of high water up into the canals. And if it gets high enough, it goes all the way through the marsh and will flood the causeway. And as near as I can tell from past experience, when the tide gets up to about 8 feet, then we usually wind up flooding over the causeway and having to close the road. Dustin, is that a number that the town uses for estimating when the floods will occur? All right. So there's a lot of water between 6 feet and 8 feet, but with storm surge from a hurricane, it happens very quickly. So here, that was back in September and October. And here we are in June. This was high tide on June 5th. That was a month ago. This was not a king tide. It was still up above 6 feet, but we had a lot of washover, and a lot of sand got carried into the Jinks Creek area. And that's how close the water gets to the end of the island. Now, I show you those pictures so you understand what these high waters do. Here we are, July 17th, and on Friday the 19th through the middle of next week is the next period of higher than normal tides. They're not considered king tides, but they're not normal tides. So the water will be somewhere around 6 feet, between 5 and 6 feet of total tide water level. But then we get into August, these brown areas are king tides. And in August, this king tide period is connected to another higher than normal tide period right behind it. And then, so we go in August, September, October, November. We've got 4 consecutive months of multiple days of high tides. I'm not trying to scare people with this because I don't expect there to be any adverse flooding from it, but it's going to be abnormally high water, and there could be some changes in the Jinks Creek, Tubbs Inlet area because of it. So our subcommittee is going to be watching it and trying to see what the impacts of that are. But at the end of last year, we had 2 months of high tides, and we had very noticeable impacts. Now we've got 4 months of them, and it will be real interesting to see what happens.
During hurricane season.
Yes. September and October are the peak of hurricane season around here. So we get a bad storm when we're at high tides, it just makes the flooding problems worse.
Does it affect the intercoastal as well, level, king tide?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, when a king tide occurs, the water level goes all the way back to the mainland. It's not just around the island. It goes all the way up to the north side of the intercoastal. And it'll probably raise the level of the Twin Lakes, because that water will flow into the Twin Lakes at that level.
Full of good news, John.
Hmm?
Full of good news.
Well,
It's good that we're looking at it so we know.
yeah, we're
how to
looking at
prepare.
it. A lot of people have that I've asked about king tides and about the coastal changes. They've told me that king tides are probably more impactful on inlets than hurricanes are. Now, some hurricanes, if you get up to a category 2 or 3 storm, then that's very impactful no matter what. But we did have I was asked to sit in on a meeting that the town had yesterday with the coastal protection engineering firm talking about the Jinks Creek realignment project. There have been some questions asked by the grant administrator about the project, and they will be resubmitting a narrative on that project, and hopefully then we'll get some positive feedback from the grant people about whether they will approve the grant or not. If the grant is approved, then the engineering can begin. But we'll find out hopefully in the not too distant future whether that'll go ahead or not. Next item is the Twin Lakes. We had a update with town council on their July 1st meeting. There were a lot of good questions asked, and the big thing is at that time was, what will the state require us to do for permitting to begin treatment on the lakes? There was a meeting yesterday or earlier this week with the state people, the Department of Water Resources, and a representative from the Corps of Engineers was there, and he confirmed that the Twin Lakes are jurisdictional waters of the state of North Carolina. But the treatments are determined by the state of North Carolina. And the people from the state agency that were there, we discussed the treatments that Stillwater proposed to do, and they thought they would be fine. We could go ahead with that. Lisa is confirming that, and when we get that confirmed, then we'll be able to go ahead and start treatments on the east and the west lakes.
And that can be done without permits.
And that can be done without permits. So hopefully we've got over that hurdle. Honestly, it was almost too easy. So but let's hope that it is that easy. Sometimes you need an easy one because they can't all be hard. Is there anything I missed about that, or all right?
Do you have any idea what treatment has been proposed? What are they going to do?
He's proposing herbicides to treat the algae and the weeds.
Bubbler system.
And an aerator in the East Lake. And if the town, and then we have to talk to the town about further supplementation, whether it's worth putting carp in the lake, or if bioblocks are something that the council wants to get into.
One more thing, John. So as you know that the town has applied for the grant with DEQ, and the assessment supposedly is going to happen next week. Gentleman from Raleigh will come, and so when they come, they will have additional advice consultations on the treatment. They will address noxious weeds only. However, I mentioned to him that we have algae, and he said he'd be happy to take algae samples as well and take them back to the lab. We just need to stay on it and remind him when he comes here,
Yeah.
whoever goes with him, to do that.
Now, he gave us 2 dates, next Wednesday or Thursday. Would you be available to participate in that work with him?
I think so.
Next Thursday, I get my implant. So I wouldn't be around on Thursday. I'd be around on Wednesday, but
I asked him to come on Wednesday if he could, because I'm here. My last day is Wednesday, so.
we'll find out when he comes.
Mhm.
Are you going to call him Monday and check with him?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can.
Okay. So things are moving ahead on Twin Lakes, I guess. It sure seems like it. And we get the confirmation to our email, and we'll be able to start treatments. That heavy rain we had last week helped a lot. We had almost 5 inches. The water level in the lakes rose about 5 inches, and that had to dilute the nutrients in the lake and maybe put out some of the fire on the growth of the
Probably washed a lot
weeds.
more in as well. It's a mixed bag.
Well,
But at least we're getting started. I know the Twin Lakes group will keep working on what is longer term solutions to keep the lakes healthy.
right.
But at least you have step one. That's great.
Mhm.
Well, not having to have permits is a big step. That's
Yeah, that's
it's a
wonderful.
big win for us.
hmm Thank you,
And
Lisa.
that certainly gives the town the opportunity to
Mhm.
manage the costs much more reasonably.
Yeah.
So next is the green recycling report. And Candace, can you update us on tree problems in town?
Yeah, I guess town council had reports from some citizens. They were concerned about the oak trees in their neighborhood were starting to die. And so we had requested that Amy Mead and Taylor McDaniel, they're both, Amy's the director and Taylor is the horticultural agent for the North Carolina State, the Cooperative Extension Office in Bolivia. They came down and met with, Dustin was nice enough to go with us, and Steve, to take a look at the trees. And their conclusion was that they were primarily laurel oaks that were suffering, and that the lifespan of that oak is about 50 years. So those trees are old. They're coming to the end of their lifespan. Some of the trees were, they had kind of like the diseases of old age, fungal diseases. I think she calls it heart rot, where the center of the tree starts to die away, and made them more susceptible to other environmental problems, such as damage from the recent storms. There's a lot of salt damage and wind damage to them. Most of those trees are on private property, so the town can't fix the trees. I think there is one that's on public property, and Dustin was working on that one. And so I think we had informed Lisa, and we're looking at how can we respond and notify those homeowners, but it will be their responsibility to attend to those trees. But it seems to be kind of a combination of natural events rather than some kind of like infestation or serious infection attacking those trees. And then the second thing that was brought to us, Rich Back, who used to be on the environmental committee, he's in the Sea Trail community, and he reported that several of the neighbors and he were finding this insect infestation. It's called, on their crepe myrtle trees, it's called crepe myrtle bark scale. So when Amy and Taylor were here for the oaks, we asked them to take a look at a couple of the crepe myrtles, and we actually found one of the trees in front of Town Hall was pretty severely infected, and when you leave, you can take a look at it. If you look at the row of trees along the roadway, you'll see that most of them are blooming well, but there's one that's just not blooming, or it has one or two. And if you go up and look at that tree, you'll see it's covered with this, it's called a honeydew. It's this black, sticky material that's coming. These scale insects produce it. The scale will not kill the trees, but it does cause them to be less vigorous, and therefore they don't flower well. Some of the branches may die and so on. And Amy had suggested some treatments for it, and I think we're looking at ways to make that either through the town website or something to let people know about it and be aware. And then John was nice enough to ask Dylan Phillips from the Brunswick Beacon if they would be interested, because it's not just our area. This is a new thing that's moving into the Carolinas and unfortunately for us into Brunswick County. And since we have so many crepe myrtles, that would be a subject that many of the neighborhoods would be interested in. So I think he's looking at writing an article and getting more notice for this infestation. So if you have crepe myrtles, go home and check your own, and there are treatments.
Yeah, the laurel oak problems. I got a phone call one day from the mayor. Shannon told me he was out in the community, and one of the property owners started showing him the tree problems that he had. All these trees looked like they were dying, and he wanted us to take a look at it and see what that was all about. So Candace got a hold of the cooperative extension, and now we know about laurel oak problems. And if you remember in the newspapers, City of Wilmington has had a program where they've had to go through and cut down big old oak trees along some of their main streets because they've rotted out in the core of the trees, and that's the same problem that we're seeing here. So this isn't something unique to Sunset Beach. It's happening in a lot of other places. And the tropical storm Ian probably contributed a lot to that. If anyone has questions about this, they can reach out to us, and we'll try to direct them to where the information is about how to treat it. But hopefully there'll be an article in the Beacon here sometime in the near future with all that information. We thought that might be the best way to communicate it broadly. Next item on the agenda is Tree City USA. Lisa has told me that she's working on a ordinance for the town that would meet the requirements for us to submit an application to be named a Tree City USA. So hopefully that'll get into the August agenda for the town council meeting, and then we'll be able to move forward on that. We've been working to try to get the town certified as a Tree City USA location. We've been working on that for 5 years. But we're persistent.
Slow.
Just slow. All right. So are there any public comments on anything that we've talked about today? Mary?
Mary Hughes, 513 Lakeshore Drive. I'm on the West Lake. And I'm glad to hear that, that the state is not going to require permitting to do some of the herbicides. I'm just curious if they have jurisdictional influence, requirements. Would they not also maybe help pay for some of the things I have to get done since they are putting their stamp on it, so to speak. Just food for thought. Thank you.
Any other comments? All right, then I think that's the end of the meeting. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
That we adjourn.
Is there a second?
I, oh, yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all for attending.